Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pat's Pulpit pregame show. Here to talk about Week 5 of the 2018 NFL regular season. The New England Patriots are hosting the Indianapolis Colts for Thursday Night Football. Kickoff is at 8:20 on the Amazon Network, I guess. I don't know what they're called. Amazon Prime, NFL Network, and more. But before we jump into the games this week, first question. I'm here with my good friend Alex Shane, and my man, how you doing?
It's a nighttime. I've been working all week. I just spoke to you on the podcast. Everyone's all banged up and no one knows what's going on. It must be Thursday night.
Are you banged up right now too?
Everyone's banged up. Yeah, the Patriots are banged up. The Colts are banged up. I'm banged up. We're all banged up because it's not the weekend yet, but that's okay. Pats Colts, the storied rivalry of yesteryear is kind of fizzled over the past couple of years, but maybe this night will represent some kind of renewal of the rivalry, the whole McDaniels debacle. Maybe some folks are so mad about the Deflategate. I don't know. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. Should be a good one.
Yeah, and we'll have plenty to talk about. As Alec mentioned, the teams are, the Patriots are fine. They're healthy, but the Colts are just completely distraught with all the injuries that they have, which is kind of unfortunate from their perspective, but should make it a little bit easier for the Patriots because the cavalry has arrived. But before we break down Patriots-Colts, let's go around the league because it's the very start of Week 5. We got a lot to look forward to this upcoming weekend. There are some interesting games that are pretty important to the Patriots that could help New England get back on top of the division. And ultimately, I kind of think it will happen, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Let's go around to AFC East games this weekend. I want to hear who you have winning each of them. And so first off, we have the Buffalo Bills at 1-3. They're hosting the 3-1 Tennessee Titans. What's your read on that game?
It's funny, Rich. I cannot read the Tennessee Titans to save my life right now. I think they're a fun team to watch. They seem to really care and get into it. They beat the Eagles, the Super Bowl champion Eagles. They looked bad the week before. The Bills looked great the week before, and then they crapped the bed again. I think the Titans win this one running away. I think the Bills are terrible. I think that Vikings game was an absolute anomaly. No idea how that happened. I guess kind of like the bizarro version of that Patriots-Browns game. The Patriots just stink once every year. Maybe the Bills are just great once a year. They got that out of the way early. Titans win this one handily, even though it's at Buffalo.
Yeah, I think so too. Josh Allen is kind of in over his head. The Buffalo Bills themselves, they're kind of banged up. They're not doing too well. They have, I believe, one of the worst pass defenses and one of the worst run defenses in the entire league. So there's not a lot going for them. And they just kind of got a bunch of nothing really going for them on offense. So I'm with you. This could be a close game. Titans are on the road, but I expect the Titans to take care of business and be one of the weaker 4-1 teams we've seen in recent memory. Another game, kind of another one of the AFC East cellar dwellers. You got the 1-3 New York Jets hosting the 2-2 Denver Broncos. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I watched the Broncos for the first time really this past Monday night against
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Chiefs just, the Broncos had a lead. They couldn't protect it. They looked lousy. They can't really move the ball offensively. It's still the Jets, though. I don't know. I think that the Broncos will win this one, but maybe that's because I'm just kind of ingrained into my system that the Broncos are decent and the Jets are always going to be bad. But this could very easily be like a 9-6 game with the Jets coming on like a late field goal. Both offenses are pretty stagnant. Both defenses are pretty good. That's usually a sign of a very long, boring, defensively minded game.
Yeah, I think I saw some sort of stat that Case Keenum he had a really good opener to start the season, but for the past 4 weeks, he's just thrown no touchdowns and only interceptions. It's pretty brutal. This is a game that I see ending up, as you said, pretty low scoring. The Broncos, I expect them to come out on top just because talent should probably rise. I don't see any real differentiation amongst too many places on the roster, particularly in the coaching staff. So it should be a pretty neutral affair. And so that I go with the talent. 17-14 is what I have the Broncos winning by on that one. So it should be pretty close, but I expect the Jets to join the Bills at 1-4 after Week 5, which is interesting because you got the 3-1 Miami Dolphins on the road against the 3-1 Cincinnati Bengals. If the Patriots win tonight, and if the Dolphins lose, Patriots are back on top of the AFC East. Woohoo, panic is over. And they're already building up some distance between themselves and the Bills and the Jets. How do you see the Dolphins going on the road?
The battle between the quarterbacks who will never quite get you there in Andy Dalton and Ryan Tannehill. What a depressing matchup this is for so many reasons, because one team's going to win and feel good knowing they're not going to go very far in the postseason, and the other team's going to feel even worse. I think the Bengals take this one. The Pats exposed the Dolphins a little bit on Sunday. I think that was a really big confidence shaker. They're kind of cleaning house. A lot of guys are getting shaken up in the Dolphins front office and on the roster. I think that coming back and bouncing back from a 38-7 shellacking on the road, very difficult to do. Since he's tough at home, we're going with the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, and these are the two teams competing for the wild card spots inside the AFC, along with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they're probably going to be first-round knockouts against whoever they face. I'm like so unenthused. These are probably the most vanilla teams in the entire league. They're both racing to be 9-7. That's all I'm saying. Winner here gets the edge to be the 6th seed because who knows? That's just what's going to be. I have the Bengals winning this one just because they're at home. As you said, the Dolphins kind of shook a little bit. So woohoo, go Cincinnati, help the Patriots out a little bit, and hopefully the Patriots can take care of business this week.
I agree. Tell you the game I'm most psyched about because it's this kind of year, Rich. Cleveland Browns hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Divisional matchup. Ravens had a big win against the Steelers last week. The Browns could have won, but didn't again. Like the Browns could be 4-0. They could legit be 4-0 right now.
They're this close.
Yeah, but they can't quite pull it together. Do you think this is the week the Browns have probably the upset of the week in beating the Ravens?
That's a high order to give. I you know what? I'm gonna go for it. Yes, this is the week Cleveland does it. The Cleveland's gonna come out on top. It might not be a pretty game. Baker Mayfield is gonna stun. You know what? I'm all in on the Browns this year. I don't care what happens. I'm just, you know what, happy for Cleveland. Way to go, Browns. I want you to have a quarterback, and I want you to, I don't know, have some sort of success because, my gosh, it's been a long time. And also, personally, I'm always happy to see the Ravens lose. They don't even have to be a playoff team or anything like that, but I will always be rooting for whatever team is playing the Ravens.
Amen to that, strictly because they're good in the playoffs. They're not scared of coming to Gillette, and they're always the one team, regardless of record, I do not want to see in the postseason. So any loss they can accrue in the regular season is all right by me. Another sneaky good game might be Jaguars at Chiefs. Chiefs look amazing. Mahomes is legit. The Chiefs are still in their early part of the season where they go really hot and then they get really cold as the season kind of goes on. And the Jaguars are very much a Jekyll and Hyde kind of team. How do you see this one going out, Rich?
This is going to be a tough one. I expect the Chiefs to win. This is still early season Andy Reid. They have all the pieces together on offense. Tyreek Hill is a good receiver. Travis Kelce, good tight end. Kareem Hunt, good running back. Pat Mahomes, arguably performing like the best quarterback in the league at this point. They have a solid defense. They have everything there. They're at home. I have a tough time seeing Blake Bortles going on the road and winning at Arrowhead because that's one of the most treacherous stadiums in the entire league. So I expect the Chiefs to move to 5-0, Jaguars to fall in 3-2. But it should be a good game. Jaguars have a great defense, and they should really be able to give Mahomes his first big challenge of the year.
Yeah, they should. And I thought Mahomes had that first big challenge in Denver, but he kind of didn't. Mile High's a very tough place to play. He looks good there. He's at home again. Arrowhead's a very tough place to play, and I don't see Blake Bortles going on the road and beating him there either. 5-0 for the Chiefs. I'm with you on that one. Maybe the last game we should talk about before we get into the start of the week in Pat's Colts. Two teams that are playing well but still losing games, which is Falcons at Steelers. Steelers lost. Falcons are losing. Matt Ryan looks good in these losses. This could be a season-defining as much as you can in Week 5 game between these two teams because if you lose a couple straight, you start getting behind your division leaders. It's a long climb uphill. Can the Steelers go up the schneid this week against the Falcons?
They could be able to, but I actually think that the Falcons have been one of the most surprising 1-3 teams. I know they've battled so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I think they've lost like their top 2 safeties and a few other pieces here and there. I think their top linebacker and Deion Jones. So they've been dealing with a lot. Steelers, they don't have Le'Veon Bell, but James Conner has been a pretty good running back for them through this point in the season. The Steelers are what they are at this point. They always play to the level of their competition, and it just seems like this year they're coming up short. So I expect the Falcons to finally get what they deserve after one of Matt Ryan's really strong games because Calvin Ridley is one of the more exciting rookie wide receivers we've seen in a little while. He has, I think, 6 touchdowns. Is that what it is? 6 touchdowns through 4 games? That's unbelievable. That's very impressive. I expect Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley to have a strong day against that Steelers defense. And then if the Steelers fall to 1-3-1, Alec, do they have a chance of even making the playoffs?
They do, because I think the AFC is a very big drop-off after the top four in the very respective divisions. The wild card, as usual in the AFC, is going to be a total mess, which is why these tiebreaker games are going to be very important down the stretch a little bit. But 1-3-1 is a very deep hole to climb out of, especially in the AFC North. That's a very rough division, a lot of rough and tumble games. We've already lost the tiebreaker to the Ravens in the early season matchup, so it's a long way to go with no Le'Veon Bell, as you said. People are already starting to call for Mike Tomlin's head, which is interesting. But I'm not worried about the Steelers. They tend to kind of figure it out like the Patriots do later on. But I wonder if by the time they figure it out, it might be too late.
Yeah. I mean, they really are in a tough division right now. Bengals and the Ravens are both looking pretty good. Who knows if they'll be able to make it. And then, again, you know what? Would it even matter at the end of the day, because they can't seem to get past the Patriots, or, it can't even get past the Jaguars last year. So are they even going to be considered a contender at the end of the day? I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is a good time to move on to talk about the Patriots and the Colts. The inactive report came out a couple, about 45 minutes ago. Tale of two different teams right now. The New England Patriots, I'm going to just run through their inactives and then go over to the Colts and kind of explain what's happening. Patriots don't have Cole Crofton. No one's really expecting him to play, or Ted Karras. Both of them are super depth options on the offensive line. They honestly, you have to go through another like Adrian Waddle or Brian Schwenke on the interior before you even reach them. So not that big of a deal. They're down Cyrus Jones, who was the punt returner, but that's because Julian Edelman's back, and that's a pretty good sign. Eric Rowe isn't playing due to a groin injury. That's fair. That is an injury that forced a player on the Patriots to be sidelined. But then you got three edge defenders in Derek Rivers, Keontae Davis, and Geno Grissom being inactive, but that's because they're so far down the depth chart behind Trey Flowers, Adrian Claiborne, Dedrick Wise, and newly signed John Simon, who jumped all of them. Patriots only have one injury inactive. Everyone else is kind of a healthy scratch. Can I just run through the Colts inactives right now? Because it's mind-boggling how banged up the Colts are at week 5 of the season. They're down their starting tight end in Jack Doyle. They're down their number 1 wide receiver in T.Y. Hilton. They're down who was supposed to be their top running back in Marlon Mack. They're down their starting number 1 cornerback in Kenny Moore, which should sound familiar because he was with the Patriots in camp a couple years ago. They're down number 3 cornerback Quincy Wilson, who I believe was a second-round pick a couple years ago. They're down Denzel Good and Hassan Ridgeway, 2 depth guys right there. But in addition to that, they're so injured that they have 2 players active today, in Chris Hairston and Darius Leonard. They're linebackers. They are their number 1 linebacker and number 2 cornerback. They are active today, but they're not going to suit up because they're just hurt. The Colts have players that they're going to have active, and they can't even play. And they're their top 3 cornerbacks, their top linebacker, their top 3 skill players on offense. Alec, what can the Colts do?
This reminds me of like a bad Disney movie where they can't field a team and they're about to forfeit, and all of a sudden some guy comes out of the stands, or some dog that has a magic power comes out of the stands and becomes a wide receiver for the Colts. It's like a bad Disney plot right now, and I feel legitimately bad for the Colts. I know there's no love lost between these two teams, but to have this many injuries this early in the season, this many key players, and to basically have to play an extra quarter of football last week against the Texans, lose the game, have basically 2 days to get yourself right and install the game plan, fly all the way to Foxborough to play the Patriots. I think it's a really crappy way to go into it. This is a good game. This should have been a good game. It might be a much more one-sided game now. The Patriots are so much more healthy. As you mentioned, Edelman is in. Rob Gronkowski with the ankle is active. This is the first time Gronk and Edelman on the field together since, I don't even remember, 2016. It's been over a year. And then you've also got Josh Gordon in there. I just feel like the Patriots are healthy at the right time. The Colts are unhealthy at the right time. And the only thing that might concern me about this is, as I've been very vocal in this podcast and pre-shows and my articles, Thursday Night Football, I feel like, is such a leveler of talent, of ability, of coaching, of skill, because it's just a horrible, sloppy mess most of the times, and it usually comes down to whichever team screws up the least ends up getting away with like a 14-9 victory. And so that could work in the Colts' favor that it's a Thursday night game, not a Sunday game, because the Colts just had no time to do anything. Yeah,
and the Patriots, fortunately, they are enough of a veteran team that they should be okay. But yeah, this is a short week, so I don't know how involved Julian Edelman will be. Josh Gordon had his first game on Sunday, but has he really had enough time to continue to develop his playbook? Rob Gronkowski, he's dealing with an injury. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He only practiced 1 day this week. So there are enough red flags where it's not entirely tipped in the Patriots' favor, even though it's undeniably very much so to their benefit on the short week, just because Colts are down everybody. You know, even if it's Gronkowski at 80%, Colts are down their top 3 cornerbacks. And so I want to look at the Patriots offense facing off against this Colts defense right now. Tom Brady, he's looked fine. He hasn't looked like his old self. He's been kind of inaccurate. He's been forcing passes. Does the return of Julian Edelman change that and change how he's going to play this game? Or is Edelman going to be limited and we're going to still see a little bit of the shaky Tom Brady for this game?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, I'm not sure we're going to get an answer today because honestly, if I'm Josh McDaniels, even though there's only 2 of them healthy and active for this game, I'm leaning really heavily on the run today, on Sony Michel, on James White. If you look at Patriots running backs against the Colts over the past 6 or 7 games, they've all had at least 100 yards rushing, some significantly more so. So I expect a much more running-heavy game today, not only to keep the defense, which is already banged up, as you said, on the field for extended stretches, but to kind of spell Tom Brady and give Edelman time to get back into football shape, take those first hits, throw some blocks, ease into things a little bit more, maybe use the screen game, those quick Edelman screens that are basically glorified runs. I expect to see a lot more of those and a lot less Brady taking the team on his back the way he's done so many times in the past. So I think he will be accurate. I think he'll be better today. But I don't expect the lights-out days from Brady numbers-wise because I think the smart play here is to run.
Ooh, I'm actually going to go the opposite direction on this one. I know that the Patriots have historically had a lot of success running the ball. Everyone can remember Jonas Gray just sending the Colts to the underworld a few years back before he himself followed them a couple weeks later. But when you're down your top 3 cornerbacks, you're down your top linebacker, who was one of their more active coverage linebackers, you got to take advantage of that, right? I mean, they don't have any depth whatsoever on the defensive backside of it. Their relative strength is on their defensive front. And I mean, relative strength because they're not a very good run defense. And so if I'm the Patriots, I'm going to say Tom Brady is going to be good enough to stand in the pocket. I'm not going to have him run against the Jabal Sheards and I believe the Henry Andersons of the world. I'm going to say, you know what? Can you hang in the pocket for 2.5 seconds? Because that's probably all the time the receivers are going to need in order to break free of their defenders. And so maybe Tom Brady won't be that perfect self that he was a couple years ago with his accuracy, with his decision-making. But against this Colts secondary, I expect him to do enough. I expect him to really take advantage of the matchups that they had because who's Julian Edelman going to be covered by? Who's Chris Hogan going to be covered by? Who's Philip Dorsett going to be covered by? They're going to be blocked by people that were on the practice squad yesterday. So if I'm Tom Brady, if I'm Josh McDaniels, I'm going to drop as many opportunities as possible to throw complicated routes out there, do some of these rub routes, throw in routes, just whatever combinations you can in order to really test these young, inexperienced defensive backs. And ultimately, they should be able to build a pretty big lead early on, and that should just remove even more wind from the sail of the Colts offense.
So if you are the Colts defense, banged up and inexperienced as you are, going up against the Patriots offense at home, what's your strategy? I suggest you go zone to limit inexperience, but Tom Brady carves up zones. I suggest you blitz a lot more, but Tom Brady's great at diagnosing blitzes, hitting the hot routes. You can't go man-to-man because I think the advantage is on the Patriots side with the big guys, Cordero Patterson, Josh Gordon, and Gronkowski, just out-muscle those guys. Edelman's too elusive. So what's your strategy to slow down the Patriots offense if you're going with your strategy of passing the ball a lot?
Cross your fingers, honestly. I mean, if I'm the Colts, I do a lot of cover 2. I make it so Tom Brady can't throw it deep down the field on a home run shot. And I know that passes up the seam to Rob Gronkowski, but you got to choose one or the other. Either you're going to leave your cornerbacks exposed down by the sideline because you know Chris Hogan, Philip Dorsett, Cordero Patterson, Josh Gordon, they're all going to be tearing down the sidelines. And so do cover 2, remove as much of the deep part of the field as you can, and force Tom Brady to really lean on Julian Edelman and say, Edelman's first game back. Patriots don't have a slot receiver if Edelman's not 100% or if he's playing limited snaps. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to throw everything in the middle of the field, have everything contained, try and funnel everything towards the interior, and hope that James White doesn't have a field day against whichever backup linebackers are out there, because James White is actually my X factor for the day. I think that he's going to have a big opportunity, not Sony Michel. I thought Michel had an amazing game against the Miami Dolphins, but this is going to be the James White experience here. I expect the Patriots wide receivers, tight ends to kind of clear out everything deep down the field. and then James White to really be able to feast upon whichever linebacker has the unfortunate task of trying to cover him, and he'll just continue to move the chains the entire day.
I love me some James White, so I'd be okay with that. I would say Sony Michel will be my X factor because of the running things, but I'm going to do a little bit of a switch. I'm still sticking with my strategy. You're going to run the ball a lot more, just has worked historically well, especially at home. I'm going to go with Dwayne Allen today as my X factor. As a pull blocker, as a moving on the line guy, Tom Brady loves to screw around at the line of scrimmage, check out the coverages, check out the schemes, and move his players into the right position. I can see a total off tackle up the C gap. Move Dwayne Allen over to the weak side, make it a weak side stretch run, move the receivers around. They have some very big guys in Cordero Patterson and Josh Gordon and Chris Hogan that can block very well as receivers. I think with Allen as an extra big body out there, that can really dictate how the offense moves the ball and how they really impose their will on the Colts defense. And I think a very long, sustained drive ending in points where they just run the ball down the Colts' throat could really take the wind out of their sails, deflate them a little bit, if you will, and that could really end it early.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think Dwayne Allen has been an unsung player. I know that he has one catch for -4 yards so far this year, so people kind of scratch their heads at whatever he's contributing to the team, but he has been a pretty solid blocker as all things go, so he could have a pretty big game if the Patriots are going to run it. Also throw in there, Jacob Hollister will be active for his second game of the year after missing the past 2 games with a chest injury. Looking at the other side of the ball, Andrew Luck is a very good quarterback in his first game back from an injury. If you actually look at his production, it's pretty similar to what Tom Brady's been able to do, but there's no T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton has almost 300 yards from scrimmage this year. He is roughly 20% of their entire offense. Without T.Y. Hilton in there, their top receivers are Ryan Grant, who's more of a slot receiver-ish kind of guy. Chester Rogers, have you ever heard of him? Not really. And then tight end Eric Ebron, who's just kind of always disappointed in every year that he's been out here. And so he's kind of had a smaller role, even though he's produced some touchdowns in the red zone. If you're Andrew Luck, you don't have T.Y. Hilton. You don't have Jack Doyle, who's been his safety blanket at tight end. If you don't have Marlon Mack at running back, which means Nyheim Hines, who's actually been pretty solid, and then Jordan Wilkins are your 2 options out of the backfield. If you're missing those top pieces, what do you do against this Patriots defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as ironic as it is to see the Colts in the kind of shape they're in. I don't think the game plan or the formula really changes like it would against any other team the Patriots are playing. You've got some running backs. The Patriots had a really hard time giving up the run for the first couple weeks of the season. They really did a good job against the Dolphins, but that might be a matter of the Dolphins' offensive line not being that good and them being exposed a little bit as a poor rushing team. If they can run the ball well, pick up 5-6 yards at a clip again, and Luck can just dump the ball off once in a while to Eric Ebron, who's a serviceable receiving tight end, I think they'll be okay. It's really all about, can they establish the run, and can Andrew Luck scramble around long enough to make something happen? If he can scramble around in the backfield long enough, anybody can get open, and he can extend plays that way. So it's going to be a very big day for the running backs for the Colts. They're going to win, and Andrew Luck's got to make sure he can hang on to the ball for long enough for the play to basically break down and somebody get open.
Yeah, and what's important to note for the Colts is that they have 2 starting linemen, left tackle Anthony Costanzo, center Ryan Kelly. Both are available and should give them a little bit of a boost on the offensive line when it comes to that running game. But the Patriots made some progress last week against the Miami Dolphins with stopping the run, playing some strong defense. The biggest thing that the Patriots did on their defensive side is that they made their tackles. That's pretty much simple. That's what it was. What happened in the previous weeks 2 and 3 is that players were missing their tackles left and right. Malcolm Brown was one of the biggest culprits of all of it. But Dante Hightower looked good last week for the first time all year. The defensive tackles were holding their spots inside the trenches. And my X factor today actually is going to be Lawrence Guy, because he's been the Patriots' best defensive tackle all year. He's been very, very consistent. He's been able to generate some pressure as a pass rusher. He's been very, very stout against the run. And if he is able to kind of throw a wrench into that plan you just laid out about trying to establish the run, give Andrew Luck some time in the backfield, if Lawrence Guy is able to stifle the Colts' run offense just right out of the gate, remove that element of the game, and then it's over. The Patriots will have this one in the bag.
Do you think that we're going to see more of the Patriots defense in terms of a rushing attack or rushing defense that we saw against Miami? Or do you think the first 3 weeks of the season are a better indicator?
I kind of think that they turned a corner last week, and a big piece of it was moving Dante Hightower back to the middle of that defense where Juwan Bentley had previously been playing. And when you have Dante Hightower in the middle of the field, it seems like he's just playing at a faster speed. Kyle Van Noy is also playing faster when he's coming off the edge. John Simon seems like a nice addition too out there. And when Hightower is playing fast, I think this is an adage that the Patriots always say, is if your linebackers are fast, your defense is fast. If your linebacker is slow, your defense is slow. And now that Hightower is playing fast, Patriots defense should be better, and I expect that last week was not the anomaly for Hightower and that he's back to his old regular self, and that the Patriots defense should be able to play fast for the rest of the year.
Hope you're right, man, because fast is the way to go. They do have some speed on the outside, despite the fact they're banged up. How are you matching up cornerback on receivers here? I mean, Stephon Gilmore, he's kind of wasted on the talent that he's going up against. So you do more zone, you do more press man. How are you covering these kind of diminished receivers with the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, well, so Ryan Grant is more of a slot guy. Came out of Tulane. He's 6 foot, 205. He ran a 4.64 40-yard dash, so he's not super fast. You got Chester Rogers, 6'1", 180. If I'm being serious, I don't think it really matters too much. If I'm the Patriots, I don't feel the need to really designate my defenders to shadow anyone, unless they're trying to play that kind of defense, because I know Stephon Gilmore has mentioned that he prefers it when he's able to study an opposing receiver, learn his tendencies, kind of just follow along that for the entire game. That's what the Patriots do. That's totally fine. I would go ahead and just put Stephon Gilmore on Ryan Grant because he's just their leading receiver. They rely on him a lot. Chester Rogers, that's fine. I mean, they're not really going to use anyone else. And then you got Eric Ebron out there. If I'm the Patriots, I don't feel too big of a need to worry about that sort of scheme, because Patriots to start are more talented. Jason McCourty is playing extraordinarily well opposite of Stephon Gilmore. Jonathan Jones has been playing well in the slot. I could see him getting time against Ryan Grant if you want to get Stephon Gilmore against the slightly taller Chester Rogers. Put them on an island, allow the Patriots dedicate additional resources against whichever player you want. I know, does Eric Ebron command double coverage? Whatever you choose, the Patriots have just the talent advantage, even with like their top two guys against whichever top player the Colts are trotting out there, because Patriots are fine. Ultimately, I think a big wrench that the Patriots could do, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. If I'm Brian Flores and I'm coaching this defense, I say, hey, Patrick Chung, why don't you go out there and cover the running back? You know, I mean, if that was what it comes down to, if the running back is their biggest threat out there, Nyheim Hines, give him Patrick Chung. That's what I would do, just because you just remove their biggest option. And then, you got Daron Harmon, Devin McCourty covering Eric Ebron. I'll take that. I think that's like totally fine. You can even bracket him. But do whatever you can, because the Patriots linebackers might not be the best in coverage against the running back. And you can mitigate that by using Patrick Chung. Patriots
linebackers bad in coverage against running backs? No. What? I haven't heard that before. I am all about anything that will prevent a running back running a wheel route out of the backfield for 30 yards. Whatever they can do to stop that, I'm all for it. I'd love to see Patrick Chung cover the running back. I don't know if he's really going to be able to do that a lot throughout the course of the season, but why not in this particular situation? One thing I am not going to be worried about, but something I'd be a little wary of if I'm Brian Flores, is the home run shot. I'm sure he's got to take a couple of them, especially if the game – I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout right away, but if the game gets out of hand early, or if the Colts are down enough where they got to kind of take a few risks, a couple home run shots could really swing momentum around and get something going, which is why Daron Harmon's actually my X factor today. He's kind of the king of late game-ending interceptions, or kind of patrolling the latter third of the field, making sure no one gets behind him. The Patriots have been pretty good for the most part, not giving up the big play with a couple of very notable exceptions. For the most part, they've been okay. And I think they'll have everything pretty well wrapped up in the first third of the field, but to monitor that home run shot, that deep ball, I think Harmon's a good guy to go for that. So hopefully he has at least a couple of picks today, and one that'll kind of close it out.
Yeah, I like that too. I think Harmon's always good. He's the closer out there. And what's interesting to note too, beyond that, Keon Crossan and J.C. Jackson are both active, so maybe we'll see them out there. Get some rookie action out there. But enough for this. It's almost time for the game. 20 minutes to go. Alec, let's do some predictions. Who won last week, and who gets to go first now?
It's a good question. Who won last week? So we both had a much closer game than it actually was. I had the hammer last week, and I picked the Patriots to win 24-17. You had them winning 28-24. And since there was an 8 in the final score of the Patriots game, it was a 38. I guess I'll give it to you last week.
Yes.
Out of pity, if nothing else. The first game of the year. Congratulations. At Patriots at Colts, who you got?
This is like the Browns tying the Steelers right now. You'll take it whatever you can here. The Patriots, I believe, are 11-point favorites right now. The last line that I saw, they're at home. Colts are super banged up. They're down all of their top players. This has all of the makings. It's on Thursday Night Football. It's either going to be super close or the Patriots are going to win by 30. I expect the Patriots to continue the roll from last week, especially because I don't see the Colts doing too much. They always seem to have Andrew Luck's number. I don't buy too much into that revenge game for the Colts with whatever Josh McDaniels, anything. I think that's just something people are trying to find. I expect the Patriots to come out and win this one, something like 35 to 14.
35-14 Patriots for Rich Hill. Good. Like that a lot. I think this game will probably start out sloppy, as most Thursday Night Football games do. Maybe a little close for comfort going into halftime. I think the Patriots will pick it up in the second half and put it away with a couple of maybe they'll receive the opening kickoff. The Colts will go 3-and-out on the second half, and the Patriots just kind of score. The Colts will come back to cover the spread exactly, but it won't be meaningful points. It won't be as close as the final score indicates. I say Patriots 31, Colts 20.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, everyone. We'll have more information on patspulpit.com. Hopefully the Patriots win this one pretty easily. Everyone stays safe and healthy on this quick turnaround week, and then you get kind of a mini bye, which is a nice little bonus here. Alec, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off from week 5?
No, that should do it. Let's all stay healthy, and I'll see you next week.
Awesome. Until next time, have a good one.